What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Anti-Gravity Group podcast. My name is Braden Carlson.
My name is Taylor.
And my name is Shane, or as you might know me, Postart.
And today we are talking about Dream Motors, but if you've been listening to the last few episodes, you'll know that we first have been highlighting one of your, meaning you as a listener's, rockets. They're submitted through Discord. You have to be either a channel member or Patreon supporter to be in the Discord, but if you want to have a chance to have your rocket featured on the episode, then join up this week, gentlemen, if I may, is user Good Guy in a Bad Place, I believe is the name. Yes, Good Guy in a Bad Place. This is his 2-stage rocket that he flew at Balls, and as is kind of a recurring theme of high-altitude 2-stage rockets, the sustainer did not light. But he's coming back full attack. He's going to fly at NSL this year. But
what was the motor combo?
I did remember this because he's from Colorado. So he was at our camp.
Is this K to K? Is this that one?
Or I think it was...
No, I think it was an L265 in the sustainer.
Yeah.
Which is pretty rad. And then I can't remember what the booster was.
I think it was an M1315.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty hard. So unfortunately, L265 didn't light. Of course, if you know about CTI motors, it might have been a blessing that it didn't light, but I guess we will find out at NSL West 2025.
I feel like that would break the waiver.
Yeah, I think there's a decent chance that it could, but listen, that's not for us to decide. And then I also wanted to try something new because we kind of know what we're doing next week. We're going to be talking about Midwest Power. No, Mid-Power rockets. We probably will talk about Midwest Power because we're going to that, but we're going to be talking about mid-power rockets and motors. So what I want to do is send out a call to action. Email us at contact@aggpodcast.com, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Odyssey or whatever else, check your description for this podcast episode. There should be a link that says send us a text message or something along those lines. You can just text us directly and it'll appear in our mailbox. So tell us all about your favorite mid-power kits and motors. We don't always have to be talking about big, giant, high-power stuff. In fact, it's way cheaper to fly mid-power stuff. Which I guess is only... Oh, good.
I've been itching to do a park fly, I must say.
Dude, I know. So I'm not going to talk about it a ton on this episode because I imagine it's going to come up quite a bit in the next episode. But I'm now a Estes affiliate, so they sent me a bunch of rockets, and now I just want to go fly them. But yeah, so we've got some fun mid-power stuff coming up, and Taylor suggested we do an episode on mid-power rockets, so there you go. So tell us about it. Contact@aggpodcast.com, or send us a text, or if you are on Patreon, I have already put up next week's episode discussion thread, so go to patreon.com/rocketvlogs, and you can type that in. And if you want to partake on Patreon in the podcast discussions, you do not have to be a paid member. You can sign up for free. So let us know. Mid-power. But today, we are talking about Dream Motors, and I think Taylor's going to kind of be able to run away with this one because I feel like he puts a lot of thought into this topic.
I feel like as a whole, we're going to have a lot of the same things.
Maybe.
Possibly.
I don't know. I kind of just went with like a handful of weirder deep cuts that are kind of specific to me because I figured we were going to have plenty to talk about. So,
as usual, I did zero show prep, and but I have quite a few motors that I just am regularly dreaming of. So, I think we should be good.
All right. Well, then, how about you get us started?
So I really like if you look on Aerotech's like the website resources that has the assembly drawings and stuff for the different reloads, if you look at the J180 instructions, it actually shows C-slot motors for the 541280 and 1706 case that seems like they were to be, but never made it into production. And so I often dream of that 1706 C slot Blue Thunder load because it would be so awesome.
Dude, yeah, that'd be a lot of impulse.
Yeah.
It'd be a K.
Yeah. Like K200 and change long burn Blue Thunder motor.
Might be like a K3 something. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
And was it just Blue Thunder or is there more motors in there?
It was just Blue Thunder.
Oh. Yeah, I mean the J180 is one of my favorite motors, and like in general I'm kind of a big proponent of long burn motors with not white propellants just because it is something you can do and it's super cool. The J180 is really, really rad, and I need to fly one.
But yeah, I'm kind of like the idea of like long burn blue motors is cool to me because of, you know, you get the thrust characteristics of a fast blue propellant, but like, yeah, I don't know, it's a long burn, so you can pick up a heavy rocket and still burn for like twice as long as whatever the like an average burn profile would be for that size motor.
It's cool because like it's blue and for a long time.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Postar, what do you got?
The first thing on my list is colored Sparkies.
The flame or the sparks?
Either. Actually, I hadn't thought of the sparks.
Yeah, I think there's too much option on that though, right? I mean,
who knows? I don't.
Dude, a pink Sparky would go hard.
Whoa, pink sparks?
Well, I mean, in theory, you could do like magnesium chunks and have bright white sparks, right?
Yeah, I think.
It's just, that's a lot of magnesium.
No, it's fine. What could go wrong? Yeah, I mean, that's on my list as well, actually. A commercial blue Sparky. I've probably talked about it on the podcast before, but the only research motor I've ever made was a 3-grain 75 blue Sparky that almost blew up, but didn't. And I was 16. It was my Nike Smoke. It got in Rockets Magazine. It was in the Rockets Magazine DVD. So it was like my teenage rocketry magnum opus. So been chasing that high ever since. You know, if we can get some blue Sparkies rolling, that would be phenomenal. I understand why it's a problem though, because the last thing you want to do is start having nozzle clogging issues on a really fast burning propellant. And I should say, me and my buddy Justin, we did 8 propellant grains. I flew the 3-grain one because he ended up passing away, and I was not going to fly it because he flew the 5-grain version, and there was like very few parts of the case or his rocket that were still recognizable as what they used to be. It was gnarly. He sent me pictures of some confetti, and he's like, "Oh, so the Blue Sparky M didn't go great." I was like, "Awesome."
Yeah, you'd almost have to run it at like an unreasonably low KN and just hope for the spikes.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is that particular batch of propellant was mixed in like dollar store bowls by hand with dollar store like cake spoons, and the term vacuum pump had never even been put into my ears before. So a lot of things that could have and evidently did go wrong.
Dollar store mixing the Sparky blue propellant is a bold move.
Yeah. It is bold, but I have to say the video, like, that is a proper sounding Sparky. It went crazy hard.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was hanging on by a thread though, right?
Yeah, it had an 1/8-inch stainless steel nozzle washer, and it came back like the shape of a cereal bowl. It almost just spit the washer out, and I imagine the nozzle would have just crumbled behind it. But
shout out to those snap rings
Dude, yeah.
And grooves in that case.
It's crazy too because that was a case that I got from Justin used, and Justin was a Cosden vendor. I think largely because he couldn't afford to vend anything else. So he bought that case used from Frank as well. So it was a hand-me-down from Justin from Frank Cosden. So you have to imagine the kind of S that case went through. So the fact those snapper and grooves just really hung in there is quite impressive. I still have the case. I probably won't ever try and fly it again. But, I mean, I guess if we could measure the tolerance on those grooves and see if it's still vibing, we could let her rip.
Dude, you got to make a new blue Sparky to put in there.
Yeah.
That would be cool. It'd be a good way to either send it out sailing or let her rip again. Yeah, I mean it's I have another 3-grain 75 and another one on the way in snap ring, so it's not like necessary to use that case, but it would be kind of a fitting tribute. My favorite thing about that hardware set, though, is that it's a motor deploy forward bulkhead. Unfortunately, Justin filled the delay well, or the black powder well, with Cotronics so that he could just fly it sealed, and he didn't want it burning through. The crazy part was you could probably fit like 15 grams of black powder in that ejection well. You could fit like a whole 38 millimeter grain in there. It was crazy big. I was like, take me back, man. I want to fly an L1175 with a 25-second delay and a 15-gram ejection charge and a 12-inch PML rocket.
The classic good old days.
Yeah. Well, anyway, there you go. Blue Sparky is on my list. So, Taylor, let her rip.
What about Postart?
He already said.
I went before Braden.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
This man's ill for real.
Yeah, I'm going to say I think this is probably on Braden's list, but a Longburn Sparky of various flavors. We have the J145 of CTI skid mark, and the motor goes so hard. So I guess, I don't know what my ideal size would be. Maybe like something in the 75 range, or even just like a bigger 54. I expect there could be problems with doing that in a longer motor, which is why the J145 exists. But I don't know for sure. It seems like it could be possible.
Yeah, so that's the first thing on my list. And I actually use this as an example for what we were trying to get out of people in the comments for this episode. A 98 millimeter full N Moonburner Sparky is like one of the very reasons that I'm like, I want to make my own motors, because I want to do that. I want like a 6 foot long, 4-inch full N that burns for like 14 seconds.
Yeah, the full N seems the whole that feels like you're asking a lot, but
you're asking too little.
That's fair.
I'm here for it. It would be sick.
All right, well, Postart.
Longburn Sparkies were also the next thing on my list, but one after that is more things like Loki Cocktail or CTI Pink.
Yeah, it's interesting. Both of those motors are pink because it's two different propellants in there.
Yeah.
But high on my list, as is no secret, is purple and pink motors. But I want a formula, like an actual pink propellant, so that it doesn't rely on it being a 5-grain motor and it can be anything.
Yeah.
There are some really, really good ones in the world of VX rocketry. Trust me, I've tracked them all. Somewhere I have a big Excel spreadsheet from my teenage years of just like all these formulas that people would actually put the formula out there. I put them in a spreadsheet, and I had a couple purple and pink ones. So I was like, yes, someday I'm going to make this. Infinity Ultraviolet was one that I believe Todd Harrison and maybe Steve kind of developed. But they flew
Isn't that blue?
No, violet.
Well, it's like fat, it's like has the magenta tint, kind of like Blue Thunder.
It's way pinker than Blue Thunder in my memory, but it is also
okay.
extremely fast, and that is one that, of course, I had a lot of gall as a teenager to just ask people for their formulas, and he was like, "Have you made motors?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Yeah, maybe not then. Maybe I'll if you make some stuff and find somebody to help you, I'll maybe give it to you." But they flew. I think the rocket was called Shake Weight. It was a pretty big, heavy rocket, and it just boogied out. So yeah, pink and purple. I know AMW Purple Parrot was supposed to be a thing before Paul Robinson died.
Violet.
Yeah, that's a classic one, and there's a couple others. But yeah, just a pink or purple propellant is kind of high on the dream motor list.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's interesting because it's like in the world of EX, you can make whatever you want. So this episode's like a little bit weird because it's almost like we're just asking manufacturers to make these things for us. But I think the context is important, that it's just like stuff. It's like no matter how it happens, like this is just a motor we want to see, regardless of who made it or whether you can buy it or, whatever, if we made it, whatever. So yeah, give me purple motors and in every size. Jesse?
Oh, it's my turn. Yes. With that being said, I was sort of kind of thinking of a few like gaps in commercial motors that don't exist that I wanted. And I must say long high thrust 75s of some kind I really want to be able to buy off the shelf. Like a 7680 Redline. If we have the N3300, we should be able to do that. It's not asking.
We
a lot.
have the technology.
It's not blue,
Yeah.
but it would have a really nice flat thrust curve, and they had the caused by Aerotech M3500. So
we did see one of those Kato at balls.
We did. Yeah, that's not a good, the best argument, perhaps, but I've seen one work before.
I shout out to friend of the show, Jim Scarpine. He used to fly a ton of those when they were available because they were so cheap. I want to say they were like $350, and it was a 7600 load. They're crazy. But yeah, that's you would think like with the K1275 and the N3300 would imply that it's very doable in 75, but
one would think, but
that 7680 case is just sitting there.
I would
lonely.
I would probably fly. Well, I don't want to say a lot of those, but that would be a sick motor.
What about a 38 1320 load that's also long and red?
That feels like you're asking a lot. That's an erosive.
Yeah, I guess the J825 already exists. I shouldn't bite the hand that feeds. I've never flown one of those. Have you?
No, only 570s.
I'm curious about it, but yeah, the J570 is so good that I'm just like, I like this.
The J825s used to Katos sometimes, so I kind of just stayed away from them. But I haven't seen one in a while, so maybe they're fine now. It's just
J825 Mini Mag drag race.
Oh God.
Yeah, I think they'd take it, right?
You could pretty much put it wherever you want in a mini mag.
In 38, he should specify.
Yeah. We should J570 drag race him. That would be sick.
So, why not the J825s? We were just talking about this.
Let's do that then.
Yes. Oh, I forgot to. We sort of moved on from this already, but we talked about the J145 for a second. You know how I just bought one?
Yeah.
Neutronium posted in the Rocket Vlogs Discord. He's like, "Well, good luck." And there was a drag race at MDRA in 2021. It was 3 stealths. 2 of them had J145s, and both blew up. But mine appears to be from the golden era. It says 2014 manufacture date.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, I went and checked last night at like 11:30 because I was like, I want to put it in my Little John, but I'd be actually kind of sad if I blew up my Little John. So
I flew that one in 2021.
yeah,
It worked.
the Punisher. It worked. It was a little sketchy for that particular rocket, but it got there.
It doesn't like the low thrust 2 grains, but
No, that's fine though.
it looked like 0.6 caliber stability.
Yeah. It had to get a little zest behind it to get it moving. All right, well, Postard, I think that means you're up.
Yeah, this one is more of just like a call to action for Aerotech, and I'm sure they have heard this enough. But long burns for the 75 10-240 and 98 2480.
Gary certainly heard it from me a lot at Balls last year. I was like, I really want a CTI N1560, but nobody has them. Be crazy if somebody made basically the same motor, but it'd be cooler if it was White Lightning. He did actually, he's like, a lot of the motors we make like are based on customer requests. And he's like, I'm sure we can look into it. And I'm like, well, let's look into it quick,
Please.
huh? I got a rocket
Yeah.
to fly next year, which would have been this year. But obviously that didn't come to fruition. And I did buy an N1560. That said, if Gary or anybody from Aerotech, maybe Joe, hi Joe, is listening, I definitely would still buy one. I would get wet and reckless with the credit card. If
Yeah,
the long
I'd
burn.
probably get one too.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun.
And that's a perfect segue to my next motor thingy. I'm a pro podcaster. Motor thingy. I just put long burn blue motors, but huge. So let's talk about the J180 again. I want a 9815 360 long burn blue motor.
Oh my god.
Or if we gotta be a little more reasonable, like a 98 7680 and like a 75
feels
38
doable.
40.
Yeah. Oh, the 3840. I
That
want
would
that.
Yeah,
be
it would be
sick.
crazy, dude. Like an L800 long burn blue thunder.
That's
Fly
my
that
new,
from the grass.
dude. That's my new dream right there. It would be so loud.
It would be insane for so long. It's like blue, but for a long time. We talked about this.
Exactly.
That's the selling point. Yeah.
It really hits the slot. All right. Well, Taylor, I'm out of stuff, by the way. So you guys got to keep me floating here.
Well, I had a lot more like we were talking about, sort of like call to action for Aerotech. Super Thunder 38480, basically a Aerotech i800. That's what we
Oh,
need.
yeah.
That
Like
would
really
be good.
bad.
Because I have a not Aerotech i800, and I know it's going to do the same thing as the K2045, where I want another one. And you guys already know how I feel about VMAX being slightly better than Super Thunder, but I will take what I can get.
If Aerotech made i800s, you couldn't resist.
No, dude, we'd be drag racing mini mags on those every launch we go to.
I mean, we're already already doing H550s because that's all I can get.
Sheesh, sounds like a good request there. If I don't say so, my don't say so.
Postert,
Oh.
you got anything?
Yeah, I've got one more. Just some better sounding Sparkies. Just as a whole.
Ooh, he's throwing shade, but he's correct.
Yeah. Like Preston's.
We couldn't. I mean, as far as Aerotech dark matter goes in the current age, I don't know if you could make a worse Sparky, really. I mean, they look good, so I guess it could be quiet and not pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because the CTI ones, it's hit or miss, but some of them do still tend to sound pretty good. But most of them are like pretty white smoke and
Yeah, the problem with the CTIs, I think, once again, probably titanium size, but on the bigger ones, it seems like it's, which yeah, it's burning too much of the titanium. So like, but the 38s look and sound really good, and the 29s. So yeah, I don't know. No expert, but
yeah, I mean, Loki Spitfire also used to be super gnarly, but we saw that one in Midwest Power not last year, but the year before, I think. They flew all the way out from the wash, which didn't help, but it just was like, yeah, I mean, that's just another current Sparky. It makes my heart sad when people are like, oh man, I love a good Sparky. And I get to feel like the old hipster that I'm like, you don't even know, man. You don't even know a good Sparky. I tried to show him. And then my K555 was super weak at FAR. I was like, no way. I'm wondering if that is because of the nozzle. You think it's because I used the Gorilla nozzle?
No, they just. I mean,
yeah.
They were kind of hit or miss to begin with.
Yeah, they weren't always that great. K1000s were the ones that always rocked you.
That's because it was the faster skid mark, like the M2200. The good news is I have a lot more to try with, so hopefully we'll run into at least one good one. And the better news is that I have an M2200, so hopefully we'll just get a bunch of really good video. I'm gonna just like put GoPros out with media mods on with like Rode mics, just so like guys, you gotta understand. You don't understand. Put headphones. I'm gonna mix it in Dolby Atmos, so you can put it in a home theater.
That would be sick, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of want to throw one out again because I said 9815 360 long burn blue motor, but just in general, I want long blue motors. And I know it's a tall order, okay? But I don't want the AMW L1400 or 1500, the 542551, or the N4000 dying in vain, dude. It's clearly doable. It can be done. The Aerotech N4800 was also a thing, but that was, 1 grain cast directly into the liner, I believe. Was it the liner? Yeah, I think it was like a super thick wall liner. It was one big grain, so you had to ship it like a CTI 6-inch motor. It's like 1.3 and probably cost at this point like $1.50 a mile to ship those things. So I can see why that is a hesitation for Aerotech or any other manufacturer. But Loki, a few years ago, I believe it was LDRS 38. He had, or maybe it was when I was in college, so it would have been 2014. He demoed. What is happening? What is that noise?
Sorry, I dropped something.
Oh. He demoed a 6-grain 98 blue N motor. It was like an N4400 or something like that, and it was so sick. So I'm like, well, I mean,
was there another
doable.
one that blew up though?
I don't remember. I just remember the one that worked and was super awesome.
Yeah,
and it was, I believe it was Scott's Rocket, because I think it had giant Loki Research sticker on the side. But yeah, super cool, big giant long blue motors. N4000 just goes so relentlessly hard that I'm like, someone's got to do something about this, and it's certainly not going to be me. Somebody's got to do something about this on my behalf, please. Thank you. Or maybe we'll just learn. We're going to have to learn to make hardware, Shane, because I feel like we're going to blow up quite a few of them trying.
Yeah.
But we can get this dialed in. I mean, but look at like motors like the N5800 or Aerotech's new N5770. Is that what it is, Taylor? Or Shane?
5737.
5737. That's super white lightning, right? For the 98, 2480. That's like an N5800.
Yeah.
I mean, like, come on. We're putting really fast propellants in long motors. They could also be blue ones, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, it just has more to do, I think, has to do with the exponent of the propellant.
No. I don't want to hear. Just take an M2500. put 2 more grains on it, and boom. What could go wrong? A boom is correct, I guess, actually.
Yeah.
Dude, it is really fascinating, though, with motors, like, especially the N1560, like, the lengths that they went to put that motor into production and have it working. It's 6 grains. It's a moon burner. All 6 grains have different sized cores. And then it's instead of the nozzle carrier nozzle, it's the big nozzle, like an 03400 and 5800, but with a 1/2 inch throat and like a 2 1/4 inch expansion cone.
Oh my God.
It's like a military motor. I'm like, well, no wonder you can't find these things. It probably cost them $1 gazillion just to make this nozzle.
How is
they
that
only
not
use on this motor?
How is that not twice the cost of the other motors? That's
I don't
crazy.
know. It's cheaper than an 03400. I assume the nozzle blanks start the same, right? So maybe they just drill them out.
Yeah, but just like the moon
The
burner
cores,
with,
yeah.
with
Yeah.
different cores.
Yeah, it's not like where you just cast a big stick of it with the same core and cut it up into grains.
I
Like,
mean, even if they did and then cored it out, you're still like hand coring each one.
that's
Like,
what I mean.
you're
Yeah,
drilling
it's-
it out. Yeah.
You're not just cutting grains. You're like different size core on every single one, and then making sure that the offset is the same at the center of each of those cores because you're stacking them all up and gluing it together.
Well, I mean, you could cast a stick of propellant and then just drill the core to the larger size.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, that probably is exactly what they do. Just the thought of casting a motor with an offset core pre-done just didn't really occur to me, I guess. That's crazy. But yeah, that is a motor that I'm like, I don't know why it existed, but I sure am glad that it did, and I'm sure glad that I have one. So, balls next year. We're going way higher or making a bunch of really crying level expensive confetti trying to do it. He's like, well, good try. Like, thank you. I maybe not come to balls next year. I might need a year off.
I want a 75 and 98 version of the K375. Boost sustain.
Oh, that would be sick.
Can you imagine a 15360
Dude,
boost sustain?
that'd be insane. I don't even know what that would be. Like an N1800, N2100, something like that.
In 1500? I don't know. I don't really
But
know.
yeah, that would be nuts. Dude, yeah,
the
98
spike would be gnarly.
Well, yeah, with the warp 9, it's like 800 pound initial thrust.
Yeah.
You can just put it in like a 24-inch rocket.
Yeah.
That would be nuts. Even a 7681 would be relentless.
I'd settle for like I feel like the doable one would be like the 6400 case.
Dude,
Like-
that's a 4-inch Punisher dream motor right there.
Yeah.
Dang, yeah. That would be sick.
I've also kind of been playing with the idea of a 38720 boost sustain. It seems doable because, like, to make one with Aerotech parts, because they sell the slow White Lightning in 38 because that's what the J510 uses. But it's just getting like the pressure drop to not mess everything up.
One just popped into my head. Shane, do you have anything?
No, I'm all out.
Okay, so I love like weird grain geometry in a production motor. Obviously, as we just discussed, it's like the M3700 was crazy because that was a full Finicil motor, right?
Partial Finicil motor.
Oh, it was partial. That's even crazier.
Yeah, so they were like Bates grains, but the ends of each one had a partial Finicil.
Wait, all of them?
What?
Yes, I thought it's. Don't quote me on that. I don't know.
And it was it
I
4
flew
long
one,
grains?
but I can't remember. It was 4 grains, I believe.
Well, yeah,
I
it's
don't
because you
remember-
put it together the year before you flew it.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was all the grains that had that or just the bottom 2 or something. But yeah, because I remember thinking that it was full, like it was full finical on the bottom, but it was like it just went in a little bit on each one.
Dude, that was like the greatest juxtaposition of CTI making crazy motors that just dumb A's like us are allowed to buy. So we're just sitting in the hotel room eating pizza and drinking beer, and you're like, whoa, this is like full military spec.
Yeah. And then it blew up.
Yeah. Glued together with your greasy pizza fingers and let it rip.
Dude, all my favorites, like gnarly seats, it's like there's like these are basically military motors that like barely work. They're like they Kato like 20% of the time, but like they
super
usually
fringe.
don't.
But that's what makes it fun.
But like
What I was getting at there though,
there was
Oh,
the
go ahead.
M1300 dual thrust. It liked
Yep.
Kato a lot. The K1440 Kato a lot. The M2250 50-50
There
on
was
Katos on that one.
there was a vendor at NSL that had a K1440. But not only was it a K1440, it was like a new one. I was like, no way, dude. It's a $300 bomb. That's guaranteed to ruin my day. But for some reason, I was still tempted. He also had I think he had an M3400. I was like, whoa.
That's the 98 one.
Yeah, but it's
Okay.
a White Thunder motor.
Yeah.
They're sick, and I was like, wow, I kind of want that. And he had the what's the 3-grain L White Thunder as well, 2775. Is that what it is?
The 98?
Oh, maybe no. I think it was 75.
Because the 98's an M.
I think no. It was an L.
It's L1720 or something. 1750.
No, I don't remember. But
I don't know. Yeah.
it was like motors. I was like, I don't know how you even got these, but yeah, it was like a 2021 batch date, and I was like, guess we'll see how the K300 goes, and then we saw how that went.
Damn, you should have got the L. That's a sick motor.
You should have got the L. You were there too.
Wait, who had them?
I think it was Moto Joe.
Oh, I never went over there. I might have bought it.
Shane, we should go to Springfest Tripoli Vegas. He's usually out there. We can dig through his cool stuff.
Oh, actually, I remember you coming up to me and saying he has such and such motor, and I was like, ooh, but I'm pretty broke.
Yeah, well,
that was before the house sold.
look where that got you, dude. N5600 list. It's a crying shame. You know what I have? A bunch of debt, but also an N1560. What I was getting at there.
Never
Oh,
mind.
good. Oh, the weird grain geometry. I want to either make or just be able to buy D grain motors, but I know they're like hyper unusable for the hobby world. But Tom Binford makes an N800 D grain for the
he makes it
98
look
15360 case. Yeah, when I was like 15, I emailed him. I was like, "How do you do this?" And he sent me this just insulting for my 15-year-old and current mind formula and like explanation of how it works. And I was like, uh-oh. I just thought maybe you were like, yeah, you make the grain and then you cut this much off and then boom, you have a motor. So but yeah, that thing, it burns for like 28 seconds or 24 seconds or something ridiculous like that.
Dude,
And he usually
have you-
flies it in a saucer. But one time he flew it in this 7.5-inch Goblin at MDRA, and it was crazy.
Dude, have you seen what the current, like, what the grain looks like on a current K250 Aerotech?
No.
It's crazy. It's just like a hand-carved, tapered.
Oh,
Like-
yeah.
It's like C slot at the top, but it kind of turns into a D grain and just
Yeah.
like tapers all the way down.
That's how the
like-
K300 was too.
Really? I was like, well, that solves the, I guess, the erosive burning problem of a long burn motor. But man,
Yeah, so the K300, that was like the first time I've seen a CTI grain that looked like it had a little bit of nonsense going on in its production. It was like Every once in a while, you get something funky with an Aerotech motor. You know, like our N2000 had the little hunk of propellant on one of the casting tubes just stuck to the outside. CTI stuff was always like refined as F. So this one, I was like, it looks like somebody did this with like an X-Acto, like hacksaw. So, and then it blew up and destroyed my rocket. So, what can you do? All right, well, shall we move on to the audience interaction section?
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. We don't have any mail in the fan mail. Let me double check the email. That is contact@aggpodcast.com if you want to reach out to us for any reason. Let me see if we have anything in here. No, we do not. All right. On to Patreon then. UPS Rocketman says, I want to see some different colored Longburn motors and some colorful Sparkies. Pink and purple motors too. A replacement for the N10000 needs to happen. Damn, he hit every single one of them.
Yeah.
We could have just read this comment and the episode would have been done.
Yeah.
Yeah, a replacement for the N10000. Yeah, I know the Neutronium has long been a proponent of Aerotech making a 15360 Super Thunder load.
I think the only reason they haven't messed with it is because they're like, well, I don't know if people want to pay for it because of the absolute
Abysmal
SE
impulse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
SE.
if you look at if you look at the impulse, the N10000, it was also dog ass. So,
dude, is that your last name? Taylor Essie? Yeah, but I mean that's his exact point. Is he's like because Gary was talking about how doing a 5120 load is kind of a moot point compared to the 3840. And he was like, I don't care about total impulse. I care about loud and fast. And he's got a point. People used to buy N10000s by the like half dozen just because they were drag racing them at every LDRS with Tim. Like they would probably sell so many of them. But Chase says Blue Sparky would be awesome, especially with blue sparks. See, here we go. And of course, on the topic of mythical legends, a colored smoke motor would be insane. And Bryce kind of touched on that in the making your own motors episode about why that's not possible, to his knowledge anyway. But nothing's impossible with enough, I don't know, gusto, money. Money is a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Research. Chase says boost sustained Sparky would be awesome. You get a nice loud roar when it's close and then it just keeps going. Dude, the K375, but with like AMW level propellant instead of white lightning.
Oh my god.
I don't think the grains are going to hold up through that shut down.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Jonathan Gabery says a 6-inch AMW Sparky would be really cool. Also, a 6-inch pink motor would be interesting. I'm a big proponent of big giant motors. 6-inch Sparkies are usually pretty good. I feel like it's just like a scale thing where it's kind of hard to make a bad one. Every 6-inch Sparky motor I've seen was pretty gnarly. Except for the CTI one. I didn't see that one in person. Taylor, was it kind of ass?
I mean, it was so cool that it was 6-inch.
Right. But like, so Marvin the Martian and then the Deuces Wild at MDRA, those motors were just brutal and it was sick. But yeah, you know, you can't necessarily have an AMW Sparky at all, but just a good 6-inch Sparky is actually Gorilla used to make one. And I believe they are certified, which is pretty crazy. But I don't know that they ever sold any except for to the Australia guys. But
I think that's why it existed, right?
yeah, that's why it has like 18 grains that are like 2 inches tall.
Crazy they went through the trouble to like certify it and everything. Just
I feel like Gorilla was like sort of the project that Bryce has talked about dreaming of, where he said like he wants to just like make a really weird specific boutique motor like once a year and then sell it. Jim Harris, I think, just had pretty good money and just was like,
yeah, but he made like
I just want to do it because
large
I
quantities.
can. Yeah. I don't know about large, but yeah, wasn't he was like a 747 pilot or something like that?
I mean, enough to get it to like stock vendors.
That's true. Yeah. Tim used to carry Gorilla motors.
Yeah.
I got my Gorilla hardware from Tim back in the day. Bayou Rat Aerospace and Rocketry says my dream motor doesn't exist. It's made from unobtainium. Oh, that's tough. Patrick Morrison says a range of certified and non-finicky monotube liquid motors that span most of the impulse spectrum and could be drop-in replacements for solids or hybrids. Bonus points if they can be made to work without any sort of solid motor ignition grain. Dude, the Half Cat guys flying at balls felt like it's like there's the cusp of liquid motors becoming somewhat regular in the world of hobby rocketry. It already kind of is happening at FAR, but you know, I don't see it ever happening with NAR, but Tripoli seems to be able to be convinced if you've got a convincing enough story and experience. It definitely helps that those dudes are, I believe, professional propellant engineers. So that goes a long way, I'm sure. But
yeah, I feel like they're probably trying to cook up some sort of standards for like procedure and like what the motor would need to have, so you don't show up with some like totally scary thing, because there's a lot of different ways you can do a liquid motor.
I do like that it says a drop-in replacement for solids / hybrids, because hybrids are definitely in their own right not a drop-in replacement for solids. But yeah, I don't know. I know Postart has the hybrid fascination. I just like remember watching all the videos and watching people like all the ground support turning the bottle and sprinting away from the rocket. And I'm like, this just doesn't look fun.
I just think they sound cool.
Yeah, I love watching them, but I don't want to like mess with it. It's like tons of headaches.
Yeah,
but dude,
the logistics are too much.
I can't. That one hybrid, I think it was a hybrid that we saw at Balls when we were out putting your rocket on the pad. That sounded really cool.
Oh yeah,
that was the closest I've heard to a like. I got to see the demo of the Ratworks Tribrid. And it sounded so crazy.
Yeah, that was insane in its own right. Because that was certified, wasn't it?
No.
Oh, okay.
For reasons of like, it's basically a liquid motor with like a solid grain.
This one's going to be above probably all of our heads. A thrust vectored RDE would be neat. Was rotating detonation engine? Is that what that is?
I don't know.
All right,
could not tell you.
Real aerospace stuff.
Yeah,
Josh Sickles says I hear good things about AMW motors and wanted to fly their skid marks since I've heard AGG and others talking about them. Probably even more is making my own custom EX and motors in N+ sizes. A large long burn N with Medusa nozzles would be awesome. Basically an upsize of the old J180 blue. Other colors like purple or pink that aren't easy to get commercially. I gotta say, in making my own motors, the allure of the Medusa nozzle is not even slightly there. Additionally, I would probably add sparks to all my non-performance motors. It just makes them go faster. The only thing holding me back on EX motors now is finding a mentor. So if there's anyone in Western Colorado that makes motors and would be willing to teach me, let me know. I think Eric would probably be in on that as well. Yeah, I was going to say you're going to be a little far from James Russell there, but they the guys in the Northern Colorado Rocketry Club do a lot of research stuff. Yeah, there's got to be somebody, right? Who knows? Neutronium says, I'd love a 75 6400 Super Thunder reload, or really any 75mm M from Aerotech with more than 3,000 newtons of average thrust. Bonus points if I don't need to buy more hardware to fly it. I also think that a 54-1706 new Blue Thunder reload might be neat. You are stepping on Taylor's toes right now. He's going to cry. The K1100 is a classic, but I think that... Oh, well, hold on. The K1100 is a classic, but I think the new Blue Thunder looks a lot better, especially in smaller motors. He's like, you know what, guys? I'm done with the podcast.
I'm leaving.
Also a Warp 9 reload for it. So they have a reload with literally every propellant in the same case. That is a good point. Those are the only propellants that aren't in the 54-1706.
Yeah, I don't think the Warp 9's gonna make it in the 1706 case.
Making an end burner. They basically already have that. Kinda. Yeah. Allegedly. We've seen one. Not. Oh, yeah. They did fly it, huh? Were you there when they flew it, Taylor?
I saw it.
Yeah. It was too heavy of a rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that could be said with pretty much any rocket you can put that motor in. The motor's too heavy of a rocket almost.
Also, I found out some of the Hamster Dance people, I think, were breaking the rules. I mean, don't quote me because I don't know all the rules, but I think some people were using RCS parts to make their own.
I have seen that people were doing that, but I don't.
I thought you're supposed to mix your own
against the rules. I don't know. You're supposed to make your own motor, but I don't know that it necessarily says you have to make your own propellant.
Yeah, that's why I said don't quote me. But I was thinking it said you had to actually make the propellant.
I'm looking. Hamster Dance is the brain fart of some research rocketry people who found a launch site near Black Rock Dry Lake in the Black Rock Desert. Yeah. Well, come on. Here's the rules section. Research motors only. No metal cases. Only plastic phenolic fiberglass. No second-party motors permitted except as noted next. Participating people from outside the U.S. can delegate a motor maker. It does just say no metal cases. All motors must be single use. You must make your own motors. If you interpret it loose enough. That's tough. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually curious. Bryce, if you want to send us an email or a text, where does it stand? Anybody that did the Hamster Dance, but Bryce is a participant and a Tripoli board member, so he seems like a good person to ask. And that actually brings us to a great segue, because the final person to chime in is Bryson Nicole. And this I love. He says Argus wired end burner. Because, come on, obviously.
That's fair.
And then this next one is just a jumble of words that I'm not really sure if it's real or if he just is messing with us at this point. Sprint missile conical case zirconium staples motor. So
who is this?
Bryce.
Oh. Can you read it again?
Yeah.
Sprint missile conical case zirconium staples motor. So I understand conical case.
Yeah.
And I'm familiar with the Sprint missile.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Taylor,
well, I guess
you got anything?
Maybe I had what was that? Zirconium staples in it?
Yeah. I feel like a pretty safe guess. You might be onto something. Yeah, well, I guess I should have asked for some clarification on what exactly that means, but maybe Bryce can tell us in an email, if he emails us about the hamster dance thing, what exactly it is. So, man, you really threw us for a loop there. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it. That's the end of the Patreon stuff. You guys, anything new pop into your head as far as Dream Rocket Motors?
Nope.
Not really. I think we pretty much covered it all.
$5 end motors.
Ooh, we could use some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Maybe even $20.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'd be fine
well,
with 20.
It's getting a little up there. You might have lost me.
I think the happy zone is 10 though.
I think so too. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for sticking around. My name is Braden Carlson. You can find me right here on YouTube at Rocket Vlogs. And actually, like I said earlier, I'm an Estes affiliate now. So Great Goblins, Nike Smokes, all the Pro Series 2 stuff if you want to order anything from Estes. And that includes everything on their website. I believe even motors. You can use the discount code in the description, or you can just click the link in the description. You get 10% off. And then they give me a cut for sending you their way. Everybody wins. And yeah, so we're going to have some cool Estes stuff coming up. And yeah, so if you want some Estes stuff, go to that link. If you want to follow me on the socials, Instagram and Snapchat is BigB1011. TikTok is Braden Carlson 6. I think I'm at like 8,400 followers now. We're almost there. I need to get to 10,000. If you haven't watched the Bob's video, please go watch it. It's actually, I think, the highest viewed within the first like 24 hours or whatever of any video I've ever posted. It's already at like 5,000 views, which is pretty cool. Any full length video anyway. So thank you to everybody watching. If we get that video to 1,000 likes, I'm going to give away a high power rocket of some flavor. So if you watched it already, but you didn't press the like button, please go back, do that again. Watch it for like at least 7 minutes, get that duration up there, really, tickle the YouTube algorithm. Leave like 35 comments, but make sure they're coherent English. Thank you. I think that's all I got.
My name is Taylor, and you can find me. Go to the YouTubes and search the Rocket Channel. That is mine. So
I've been putting your guys' links in the description, by the way.
Oh, nice. That's probably why my subscriber count keeps going up.
Yeah, you should post some videos. It might go up faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I had to do a fireworks show over the weekend, but I'm free now.
tough.
So, yeah. I know.
Sorry
it
to
was
hear
terrible. Yeah.
My name is Shane or Postart. You can find me at the other YouTube channel linked in the description, Postart Propulsions, or online at hprtools.com.
3 uploads in 1 month, ladies and gentlemen. He is posting videos, and he's got a video about his O-motor flight coming up and how he prepped the rocket for that. So go check it out. Don't forget Patreon, or send us an email, or send us a text. Tell us your favorite mid-power rocket kits and motors, and we will see you guys next week. We are the Anti-Gravity Group. This is the Anti-Gravity Group podcast, and we will see you guys next week again.
We might just hear from Nigel the Rocket Cat. Load up the professional masterpiece, you can bet on that. A launch and a chat with them is guaranteed to be a blast. It's the Anti-Gravity Group podcast.